Welcome, everyone, to Practice Live. This is a monthly podcast that touches in on how we can really be here through practice. We've been story catching for, I realized, almost 3 years now. And people from all over the world have shared their stories of experience of how they get more into being with themselves, being with creative, and being with others. Today's guest is Tanner. How do you say your last name?
Polsley.
Polsley. Okay, I sort of had that right in mind. Today's guest is Tanner Polsley. I love it. It's great. I was like spelling it this morning and it's like, this is a rad name. The end. And we're going to talk about Tanner's practice, daily painting practice from 2024. I discovered Tanner through being in the Milan Art Institute year-long program, although for me it's slightly longer than a year, and seeing Tanner's really, I want to say playful, but also like serious work come through my feed, and noticed that he was doing a daily painting practice. And if you've been around this channel for a while, you know that I'm kind of obsessed with daily painting practice. And it was so rad to see Tanner's approach to completing a painting every day, which I have to say is like kind of a daunting task. It's very different than working on long arc pieces. And I had a daily painting practice where I made a painting every day for 2,740 days. And now I'm close to 3,500-ish days of painting every day. So I was naturally really excited to see this person who was kind of full bore, like not 30 days, not 100 days, 365 days. And to see the progression of Tanner's work and to hear his playful stories. You have a funny way of like, don't really look at this, but I'm showing you on Instagram.
I know.
So I'd love to hand the mic over to you. I'll be on mute, but you'll probably see me respond because I'm a very enthusiastic, eager little puppy of a person sometimes. But I'd love to know what's important for us to know about you. Maybe that's a little bit of where you grew up and where you are and your interest in art, or literally anything that you feel like relaying about what's important for us to know about you.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for having me here. I am super excited for this. But yeah, well, my name is Tanner. I'm from Georgia. I live in Florida now. And I've been, dabbling in art in some way for pretty much as long as I can remember. But I feel like I really started like actually seriously pursuing it probably about 2020. Nothing to do with the times that happened in 2020, actually, as some people might think. Started in January of 2020. But yeah, I went to college for film and television, actually. That's what my degree is in. So I've kind of always had an interest in video and art. And through the years, I've kind of found a way to kind of marry them together, which has been super cool and super fun. And yeah, and that kind of led me to doing a face a day in 2024, which is actually 366 because it was a leap year. And yeah, so yeah, that's, I think, everything about me. I'm a Libra, if you care about that.
And how does being a Libra factor into it? I turned out to be a Gemini. I was supposed to be a Cancer. Anyway, a face a day. So what sparked, like, had you done any sort of like daily practice before that? Like, what's A, do faces, and B, to do 366 of them. I forgot that last year was a leap year.
I know, right? Yeah. I know. I didn't realize that when I started. I was like, oh, I'm doing an extra one. But when I did, I don't know, every few years, I guess, I just get struck with this urge to do something every day for a year. Because in 2018, I did a film a day. Now we're using the loosest term for film. Like film is just moving image, on a screen. But in 2018, I did that, and it was the first time I ever attempted any kind of a creative thing every day kind of challenge. And it was so interesting because it really pushed me to like it made me approach like everyday life in such a different way. I had to actively think about being creative because I made a commitment to do one film every day. So I did that, and it grew my filmmaking skills, my creativity skills, my editing skills, and it taught me a lot of different things. And then in 2022, I did a sketchbook page a day in a little handmade sketchbook I made from recycled materials because I saw a video of someone else doing it on Facebook, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. And then in 2024, I don't know. Portraiture is something I've always been interested in. It's always been like my favorite subject to draw or paint. I'm not entirely sure why. It's just like ever since I was a child, I've always liked, the human face for some reason. Like it's fun. It's fun. And I wanted to get really good at it. So I don't know. And I thought of the phrase of like facing each day, but like literally with a face. I was like, that's funny. Let's do that.
Oh my gosh. I love hearing about these 3-year projects. You said so many things just now that felt like gold to me. One being that in the 2018 Film a Day project, that you were approaching everyday life in such a different way. I have like whoa yas hearing that, because that's, for me, practice is a form of alchemy. So like you can just do a thing and that's fine. Like there's like achievement-based practices of I want to play Carnegie Hall. I'm going to play piano every single day, and get as good at that thing. And there's like skill building practices. That's rad. This is not instead of that. But in addition to that, the alchemy of practice, wherein it touches this thing that I heard you just say of, I began to approach life, my everyday life, in a different way. And I would love if you wanted to extrapolate. I cannot actually right now. Can you talk more? Can you talk about that more? Like what shifted for you in your worldview through making a film every day?
Yeah. So basically, like, you go through your life every day, you do your things, you get into routines. But when I was doing a film a day, I had to actively like seek something else, seek something out to film. So, if I'm going through a drive-through, like this is a particular example. I'm going through a drive-through and there's a bunch of crows eating garbage. So I was like, oh my gosh, that could be interesting. So I got out my phone, filmed a few angles of it, pieced it together, and I was like, this is kind of an interesting little thing. So you begin to kind of consciously look for, little moments in your life that normally I should be like, it's just some crows eating some garbage, whatever. But actively trying to find something else, like, there could be like a little story to tell here. There could be something visually interesting here. It's not just crows. And like, I don't know, it kind of like you can see like a little magic in even everyday moments.
Ooh, seeing magic in everyday moments. I'm making a note of that. Everyday moments. Oh, so right. So, can you share a little bit about, because something that I encounter in talking about practice with people, which has it's just become this completely nuanced thing for me. So much so that like I paint every day, but it's so become me that I don't really think about it. I've just noticed that like I literally haven't not painted every day, regardless of the conditions, because it became me. I'm curious if has anything that you've practiced on a daily basis permanently altered your mind, and how you see and how you approach, other aspects of your life.
Yeah, for sure. Like it does, as you just said, it does kind of just become a part of you. Like when I did the face a day or the sketchbook challenge a day or whatever, like that got me into such a habit of like it's like creating art is a default mode now. Like, I can't think of a day that's gone by where I haven't at least, drawn like a little scribble on my desk here or something. Like there's always at least a little thing done because like you said, it's a default thing. It's just natural now. So that's great. But what does change though is kind of seeing the world like an artist does kind of always become more of a thing, I think. Like you're always looking around. I feel like it's easier to find inspiration in everything around you as you kind of practice this. And I think it just, I don't know, I feel like it makes life better, like having this worldview of like, there's something beautiful in everything, or something magical in everything if you just look at it the right way or a different way. You can find something beautiful in pretty much everything you see in your life.
Oh gosh. um it's ordinary for us because we've practiced it, right? But like,
Yeah.
so many of us in the current Western context really struggle with A, access to their creativity,
Mm.
and B, seeing something beautiful, something magical in everything. And it's really a profound stance. And one of my aims, one of my agendas, if you will, of talking about practice so much is that for a long time, I would wait for the muse. And
Mm.
inspiration is a fickle thing. And in fact, what I found is that if I put too much pressure on the muse, Muse did
It ain't
not.
coming. Yeah.
Muse did not show up.
Yeah.
Muse was like, I
Like
have
you are
other
not ready.
yeah, no, thank you. There's been something so profound for me in choosing, deciding, acting in that direction of recognizing beauty and magic in everyday things, including crows eating garbage. Like,
Yeah.
having eyes to see and even convert something that would either regularly be passed over or something that we might even find disgusting, and like convert it into something of beauty is such a profound stance. It's such a profound stance. So as you're talking about that, I have these ripples of like, yes, may many people hear this message of like practicing art on a daily basis enables you to have a worldview of beauty and magic.
It really does. It really does. And I think I feel like one of the things that holds so many people back from exploring this is I feel like so many people just don't know how to like find their unique creative outlet, maybe. Like so many people think that um creative endeavors, there's like gatekeeping to it. Like I know like this was something kind of I struggled with for a while, and kind of what stopped me from really pursuing art was just like, I'm not an artist. Like I don't have that kind of talent within me. Like, these people, they draw and paint so well. Like, that's not me. I can barely do stick figures. And it's like, that's not the point. Like, first of all, you only are going to get the skills through actively doing it. And you have to start somewhere. And I think that's what gets people from doing it is the fear of starting, because I mean, you're not gonna do your best work when you're first starting, obviously. And that's okay. That's good. Something that these daily things have taught me is that like it's totally fine to make some pieces that maybe don't look so hot. Like it's totally fine. In fact, it's good. You have to. You have to make those pieces.
Totally. In fact, I have like so I started a daily painting practice. I've had a daily practice since I was 17, and I call like the first 15 years of my daily practice the mess around, because I
Ooh,
just
yeah.
I just tried whatever. I did some movement practices. I had a sketchbook practice. I had a poetry writing practice. I would try whatever just to like get myself going in a direction. Um, and I love that you a little while ago you touched on like you saw somebody do it on social media, and so you did it. I saw somebody on social media, and this is one of the beautiful things I think about. Again, you can find beauty in a complex thing like social media.
Yeah.
But somebody was doing a 30 faces in 30 days challenge, and I had this spark of like, ooh, I want to do that. I want to do that, and I'm going to do that. And then in November of 2015, or no, December of 2015, I actually did that. And then the hunger grew. Um, but oh, what was I going to say? I was going somewhere with this, which had something to do with gatekeeping. I love that you called that in. Oh, bummer.
The fear started, yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't really matter what you do. It doesn't actually matter what you do. Oh, that's what I was looking at some of my paintings from 2016 of like completing a painting every day. And to me, they're so bad. Like they were like worse than the work that I was making at the time, because it's a completely different frame of mind to start and finish a piece, to call something finished, to be like, well, and I think I heard you say this a number of times last year. We were like, well, I guess it's done.
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
like if I were working on this for longer than a few hours or 20 minutes or something, like it would be cooler or whatever. But like, here's what this is. But what was amazing is even that first year, because I realized that this was likely going to be a longer deal for me and I didn't need to keep hundreds of paintings. And now it's thousands of paintings. I started offering them. I was like, if you like it, I mean, cool. Like a nominal amount of exchange for this, piece of paper I touched today. People found beauty in things that I was repulsed by. Like I was just like, oh, this is bad. This is stupid. This isn't developed enough. And people would be like, I had a dream about a fox last night and you painted a fox today. Or like some other inner life connection that I had, which is why I painted it that day, but somebody found something in the things that I wouldn't have found beautiful. And so I think one of the things that I heard you touch on that like sparked this thought for me of like, we can't make assumptions about what's good or bad either. Like if we have to start somewhere, and then like not making assumptions about what somebody else might connect with, if you're willing to share it, because connection happens from all kinds of things. And yeah, I don't know. That was kind of a mess, but
It's totally true.
But yeah, connection can happen anywhere, and starting somewhere. And I feel like this is where practice can come in as like a pillar that you can rely on, because again, waiting for the muse, fickle. But like deciding to do something, deciding to enact that urge, that desire to create in some way, any way, does something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really do think that I kind of feel like that urge and like creativity, it's a skill, or it's a muscle. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets, and then the easier it gets to continue working, because you got to condition yourself to, because like the muse will find you while you are working, usually, I think, I mean, every now and then you might like be sitting in bed, you're like, oh, an idea. But for the most part, like you got to keep at it, you got to keep up your endurance. It's like cardio, art, creativity, cardio.
Ooh. I'm working out my art muscle.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that though. There's something that I found too, which is when I hit daily painting, because like sketchbook didn't do it for me. Like I found myself feeling frustrated, not in a generative way. Like I got kind of stuck. Like the signals in my body as I was practicing that were not open. They were not effervescent. They were like kind of stodgy. and but it was closer. Like it
Yeah.
was closer, but I think I was scared to paint every day. I was like, ooh, like what if I can't afford to maintain it? You know, I've had a pretty modest financial life, you know, for a long time. And what if I can't complete it? What if it's not good? You know, like there was fear there, but there was also an excitement that when I leaned into it, why it's been 10 years of daily painting is that there's an effervescence there. There's an opening. There's something that happens that feels really generative. And no matter what I have going on, whether it's illness or travel or loss, it's been a companion for me. So I'm curious, like, what do you feel in your what do you feel in your body when you paint? Like, or what do you feel in your body with things that you love? Whether because maybe I mean you're still painting though. So I'm gonna go with painting, but maybe you'll talk about whatever shows up in your soma you know, with practice.
Yeah. It's so interesting. It's like I kind of feel like it becomes your normal that not doing it is what you notice and you're just like something's missing. Like, it's like not eating or drinking. It's like, you feel hungry or thirsty, you're starved for it. So then doing it fulfills a need. Like it's just become like one of my basic needs I gotta meet, I've gotta create something. I've gotta do something creative. And I think the balance you gotta find with that though is it's so you can very easily kind of go too far into the other end that you start to like you don't want to be so upset with yourself if you're not creating because anything could happen, at an accident or whatever that can stop you from painting or it's hard or whatever. And you just got to find that balance of having grace with yourself. And like if you're creating something and you don't like how it turns out or whatever, that's fine because you're still creating. And every day doesn't have to be like a new masterpiece. Just every day just has to be fulfilling.
Ooh, I love everything you just said. It's true. It doesn't need to be a masterpiece. And in fact, one of the things that's unwound for me is I'm not completing something every day. Like I needed to do that for 8 years, but I don't need to do that anymore. I need to touch it. I need to touch the
Same. Yeah.
page. And I love what you're touching in on about it being a basic need. One of the things that I deeply care about with practice and with creativity is that restoration of creativity um, is actually a restoration of being human. I feel like the creative urge is a deeply, truly human urge, and that we can expand the definitions of creativity. It doesn't need to be about painting or filmmaking
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
music. It really we make beds, we make conversation, we make love, we make things like we're makers, and reinstating the faculty and the tech. I would call it an organic technology of imagination, and allowing ourselves to perceive beyond exactly what is in front of us, in addition to what is in front of us, but also beyond what is in front of us, restores us to a true human state. And it is like eating and movement and drinking water. And again, expanding the definition gives an entry point for anybody. And that's a really powerful thing as well. I think one of the things that I love about practice being the baseline is that it moves art not just in an elite zone of like, and you kind of touched on this earlier of like, well, I can't draw like that, so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
don't do that. Practice as the baseline is like this isn't about perfection. It's not about making the masterpiece every day. It's like touch the page of yourself. You know, for me, like it looks like an outside page, but it's actually me making contact with myself in some way.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. And I mean, that's like, it kind of feels like that's what it's all about, Like I feel like art is one of those things that it's such a personal thing that is also so impersonal or not impersonal, but can touch others too. And like you said earlier about, there are pieces that you looked at that you made, you're like, but other people are like, I love this. And it's such a beautiful thing about art is that, everyone will react to it differently and see something in it. And even if, you're not happy with it or you're not thrilled with how it turned out, like you said earlier, that doesn't mean someone else won't. So like imagine if you never made that and that person never saw it. Like what a loss that would be. That'd be sad.
Uh, yeah. You said this and then went back on it, but I'm actually going to say it again, which is that it's not personal. I actually really deeply feel that. I really feel like I kind of get out of the way. I'm there, but I'm also kind of out of the way because something is moving through me, and it's the combination of whatever is moving through me, moving through this vessel, coming out. And if I make it about what I'm doing, like what I'm doing or not doing, or how cool I am, or how good it is, I'm in the way. I'm in the way of the thing coming through. And the thing is going to come through however. And part of my practice with daily painting is like, actually not just touching the page, like not just like doing things on a piece of paper or the canvas, but like actually letting myself get out of the way. I actually really feel like imagination and creativity is not personal, but it has to move through the person. It has to move through us as individuals in order to communicate that thing that only we can communicate.
Yeah, there's like you got to find a way to let it move through and then go on to its next thing of whatever that is. And I think that's something that these daily challenges really can, like, if this is something that whoever's listening struggles with, maybe something like this could help you do that, because then you're kind of forced to move on from a piece. Like there's no time to sit on it and dwell and like, think of like, ugh, this was terrible, or even like, oh, this was great. This is the best thing I will ever make ever. You gotta move on to the next piece. And there's like a freedom that comes from that, because whether the piece you just made is great or bad, we're moving on to the next, and we're keeping going. We're keeping that momentum flowing.
Love that. I love that you touched both ends of like, it's crap, it's the best.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to drop in a little bit more about any struggles you had? Maybe I sort of like skipped over the thing that was relating, which is that like, is perfectionism a thing for you? Which I'm only asking because there were moments throughout many of your videos last year of like, well, it's kind of, but like here. Can you touch in on perfectionism and how that factors into practice for you, and like,
Yeah.
or any other shadow realms of where it felt sticky for you and how you companioned that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very interesting one. Like I feel like I've never been too much of an actual perfectionist in most things, I'd say. What does get me though was like being willing to share something that I didn't think was perfect with others. Like something that I really wanted to endeavor to do with this daily face challenge that I didn't do pretty much at all with my daily sketchbook challenge was to share it a lot more. Like, I've made so many videos and reels about all these faces I made last year, partly because I wanted to share it, even the pieces that, I didn't think were that good. um, which is something that, I've had to overcome a little bit, like in my past coming into where I am now of like, I get it's like it's that fear of being judged, I guess, or like, you think like, "Ugh, everyone's gonna laugh at me and say like this is awful, terrible." But like that's usually not the case. And the odd comment that is genuine is like, this sucks. I'm just like, well, I mean, I kind of agree. So it's like but it really helped me though to be comfortable with being authentic, like sharing these ones that, maybe I'm not that happy with, but there's still like a story to be told about them. There's still a piece, like I'm sharing the process behind creating this. And I think there's something of interest and value in that should be shared. And doing this daily face challenge and being so open and sharing it really helped me kind of like always do that and like, not hold back. Like here's the good, bad, and ugly. It's all here.
Yes, the authenticity piece. There's something there's something about, for me, bringing people with me, like there's like it like levels the playing field too, where I'm like, no, really, like you can also do this. You can do this.
Yeah.
Like sharing, I noticed that sharing has been, because for 15 years I just did a bunch of stuff and didn't share about it at all. And I realized that this is such a big conversation in my life that I actually need to practice sharing. That was part of the practice, was like actually letting people into something that I'm working on, something that I'm thinking about, something that I care about, that I want to bring to the world. And I'm like, well, then I kind of have to bring it to the world. Like I
Yeah.
kind of have to like share this as a stance of like, this isn't about waiting until something is just right in order to share it. I'm not sure that I was going to wait for that forever. So
Yeah.
what if I just started? And then the conversation that began immediately in 2015 and has continued for about 10 years now has been really revolutionary. Like my sharing the imperfect pieces sparked other people to be curious about what they were capable of and what they maybe would want to do. And then other people started trying their own things. And I was like, this is kind of profound. And again, that's kind of how I started. There was somebody who's doing a 30 faces in 30 days challenge. And because she shared, um, it sparked this thing that allowed me to move into a more a depth and a breadth around practice that I wouldn't have gotten to if she hadn't shared about it. So, and not just like the shiny things, but the struggles. Like there were struggles. There were days where it was really hard to do that. It was really, sometimes, even though I wanted to, like it was sometimes physically very hard. Something you touched in on that I want to actually go back to, that's meeting this thing that I'm beginning to talk about, is like, I've been calling this shape right-sized self-coercion. um, that there's like a place for right-sized self-coercing ourselves to do something even when we don't feel like it.
Mm.
Um, and not being self-abusive. And that's a curious line. For me, I think one of the things that it took me 8 years to recognize that my agreement with myself wasn't to make a painting every day. Actually, my agreement that I had made with myself in December of 2015 was to touch the page every day. I actually never set out to, aside from this, well, actually for the first 30 days it was about making a face every day, but then it kind of was like touch the page every day.
Yeah.
But I made a painting every day. And then it took me like 8 years to be like, I think I'm done with like that shape. Like I don't need to like go
Yeah.
all the way through with something. But I'm curious if you have any words on doing your practice even when you didn't feel like it, but also like, what's the line of not abusing yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's such a blurry line. Like it's very easy to tip over. Um I think one way that I kind of uh tried to prevent that is at the beginning, like setting very loose boundaries with myself as to what I wanted. So when I did the face a day challenge, I'm pretty sure I even said in the very first reel I made when I was very sick, January 1st, 2024, I said one face on one of these sheets of paper every day for a year. That's it. No other rules, just one face a day. So then, that gave me enough leeway that on the days that I was sick or traveling or had way too much wine, that as long as it's a face, then we're good, then we're meeting, then I'm meeting my commitment to myself. So I think it's just about being able to set um, realistic expectations. Because like I knew like I'm not going to be able to do like a full on beautiful oil painting every single day for the year. Like that would be a lot. Not with everything else I got going on in my life. That would be rough. But I know I can at least set aside 10 minutes every day to sketch in a face really quickly. Like I know I can at least do that. And if I can't do that, then like I better be like dead in a ditch or something, like so I think that's kind of where you find the line of like at least do that. Like, because then like it's really hard to make an excuse to not at least spend 10 minutes doing something. Like you can't spare 10 minutes to be a little creative today, Tanner. Yes, you can. Get in there.
You just basketball coached yourself.
Yeah, I know.
Totally though. I love setting loose boundaries. So I wrote a book on this, actually. I wrote a book on daily practice. It's not even about painting. It's actually not even about creativity. It's like, what does it take to actually show up with ourselves every day? And one of the things that came through really clearly in 2016 was I need to make a simplest agreement with myself. What is the simplest agreement I can make with myself? Because I knew if I committed to a time of day, to a certain length of time on my practice, to a certain subject beyond those first 30 days of 30 faces, like even materials that I was going to come to reasons why I would break my commitment to myself. And my commitment was to touch the page every day. So there were some days where like I worked with graphite in bed, like, because I wanted to, because I was like, I could convalesce and be sick, and I can like totally touch the page today with this pencil, with this number 2 pencil. So like I call it a painting because my overall practice was going in that direction. But like some days it was 20 minutes with a number 2 pencil on the page. I also like set myself up well in a way that I didn't even know that it would be as sustainable as it was when I first committed to the project, because I worked on 6x8 pieces of paper. So
Yeah. That's another.
And I actually really like that one. That one has gold leaf in it. That's cool. And that was cool because I could travel with that. And like, a whole month's worth of paper was like $6 or something. So that was completely sustainable as well for that practice. But I found that the most sustainable agreement I could make with myself was to touch the page every day. Nothing else. So I love you're touching on that too, of like, if you put other rules on it, you're going to come to breaks where you could give yourself the out. And for me, that kind of gave me bumpers that were about right-sized self-coercion instead of like the abuse of like, and you're going to paint even though blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, I mean, I can totally do that. I can totally lay in bed and work with this number 2 pencil.
Yeah, it's like giving yourself enough grace, but still having the specific commitment of something to reach, like not too much grace, but just enough that, like I said, like how are you going to make an excuse to not do it then?
You've mentioned grace a couple of times, and it happens to be one of my favorite words. I'm curious what grace is to you. What is grace?
Yeah, I think it comes just be kind and understanding and knowing that like, it's gonna be what it's gonna be, basically. And let's just be okay with that. Let's be okay with that. Like this face, yeah, her nose ended up a little wonky. Maybe the next one won't, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. I guess that's how I define grace. Like, it's fine.
Oh, I love that. A kindness and understanding that it's going to be what it's going to be, and it's fine. I feel like something that's grown for me in the imperfect as a person, because did I cut out for a second?
Yeah, you cut out
Like
for a second. You're back
flashed.
now.
Cool. Off-grid living,
Yeah.
off-grid Wi-Fi. For those of you who don't know, I live on 40 wild off-grid acres in Eastern Washington, and the only way that we're tethered to the world is through the Wi-Fi service that we have. So, like, if the wind blows a little funny through the trees, like the signal is interrupted. Yeah, like as a person, to return to grace, giving myself an external thing in which I'm like practicing being easy with myself around like whatever comes out. I'm noticing that over time, I'm also being much more graceful with myself around other things that like I might miss the mark with. Like it just doesn't quite like
Yeah.
land where I thought it coulda, woulda, shoulda. And I'm not being lazy with myself. It's not like I'm not like moving the bar. Like I'm always moving the bar, but there's a dance with it of like, I'm going to keep working on this, and this is okay. This is fine. Like I'm not going to some, cave of darkness if I don't get this just right to some interior standard today. And in fact, this little move is going to accumulate in that direction of me being able to do this more easily at some future time. So I think part of grace for me, I think Carolyn, somebody identified grace as an energy received and not created. And I really like that. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
like that understanding feels like a fabric that can move through, that is like received, like it's not even necessarily sourced from me. Yeah, that helps like smooth those edges where I might hold myself back or, judge myself. I'm like, why?
Yeah. And I liked what
There's
you
some,
said.
you go.
I liked what you said about how like having grace with yourself, whatever, doesn't mean that you have a lower bar, you're being lazier or whatever. I feel like it's the opposite. It at least has the opposite effect. Like when you give yourself that grace, I do feel like then you're able to actually go further and do more,
Yeah.
because there's nothing more discouraging than that self-critic, self-doubt. Just be like, well, I flubbed that. I guess I suck. But no, and then that's so discouraging. But if you tell
Yeah.
yourself like, that's fine, that didn't pan out how I thought it would, but I learned from this and we're gonna keep trying. And it's so much more productive, I think, to give yourself that grace. It raises the bar,
It
actually.
raises the bar. Totally. Yeah, and part of this conversation is rewriting the scripts of discipline, of practice being punitive, or enacting like outside authority punishment, on ourselves. Like part of what's grown for me is yeah, like it not being a punitive thing, it being a really generative thing. It's a very like it builds on itself. I love where you're going, where it's like you're actually incredibly more productive when you're moving with grace, when you're moving with this ease with yourself of like, I actually did my best today. This is my best, and like, and now we're moving on.
Yeah, it's a stepping stone to the next thing.
Yep, rad. Oh my goodness. So what does it look like for you to be in practice? Because we have about 15 minutes left. What does practice look like for you now that you're on the other side of this 366? Ugh, I wish I had remembered that last year was a leap year. Yeah, what does practice look like for you now that you're not in like a track of doing a thing every day? What does it look like now?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I've been toying around with like different ideas and whatnot. I was like, what's going to be my next thing? And I don't think I necessarily need a next thing at the moment. You know, maybe next year I will, or the year after that, we'll see. But right now, because something that I've learned I really enjoyed doing from the Face a Day was like all the content I created around it, and like the videos I made, like it's so fun. And I think that's what I want to explore more of. And I think something I want to do more of is find different ways to like challenge myself. Like every now and then, like I did can I do a drawing while running on a treadmill or something? So I'm thinking of ways to do that. And kind of like how you talked about how you went from completing a painting every day to just painting every day. And I'm also trying to focus on that. Like I want to, after, completing one thing every day, I want to see what it looks like if I spend more than one day on something and see what that pops out. So that's kind of what I'm doing. So like some bigger pieces here and there and whatnot. And that is kind of, it's funny. That is kind of something I almost have to like learn again, is spending more time on one piece. So that's been interesting.
Totally. um yeah, I got really like almost too good at working on a 6x8 piece of paper in one day, and
Yeah,
then
same.
had to figure out like that the Milan program actually has been so it's actually, I was talking to somebody, I'm hosting a retreat this weekend, and one of my dear friends is here who's in a long-term program with me, and we ended up talking about the Milan program, just not to plug well, we might as well.
Okay.
I'll totally plug that program, because on one of the absolute best investments that I've made in my life, and it helped me really accelerate translating what I learned from many years of daily painting in a small way to moving bigger and moving into longer arc materials like oils, which I didn't realize how much I would love, but I totally love them. And I'm like such a nerd that I'm like, yes, temperature.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, it's a totally different mindset to work on bigger things and to tend that. But having that foundation of completing a painting every day, it like we talked about earlier in this conversation, it's so natural. Like I'm going in the direction of this bigger dream of what it means to work on bigger pieces now. But it is such a different mindset. You touched on something that I want to touch back in on. Oh, you touched on something that sparked a thought for me, is more accurate. Something that I feel about practice is that some of us will do daily things, and some of us will do regular things. Like, what if it's not about daily? What if it's like a regular practice? Like, I don't know that everyone is built. In fact, I've found this through companioning other people, like other people's energy levels. They're not necessarily going to do something on a daily basis, but it doesn't mean that they're not in practice. And there's also this other piece of like, what if it's not the same thing every day? Like for me, having like the focus of painting every day has rippled out in every other area of my life. But, I think for some, dancing with practice being having a set of practices that you're pulling from, that you're listening to yourself, and then you're enacting in some way, is an incredibly valid path of practice. Like, not that there's like an authority. I'm not an authority on practice. I'm just a nerd for it. But I feel like there can be this measurement, this comparison piece of like, well, I'm not doing it every day and I'm not doing the same thing every day. And so am I still whatever? Like, am I good enough? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Like I think, every person has a different temperament. We're all different. That's the point of being human. We're all different. So like finding what your thing is, I think, is key. And I think to get that, you kind of have to experiment. So like I think attempting a daily practice of something is great. I think everyone should try it, because even if it's not, for you, you're still going to learn something from it, from just that experience of committing to do something every day. Like you get such a valuable experience from that you can take that and build it into whatever is actually sustainable for yourself and your temperament and what your
Yep.
goals are.
I mean, I would say that too. I feel ditto to what
Yeah.
Tanner just said. Like, I feel there is something that I want to do some research on the actual neurological effect of like doing something every day, because I feel
That's a
like I did
very
it some years ago,
interesting.
but like forgot what what resulted from that. Because there is something about that commitment and that decisiveness and following it through. Like it affirms. I got so much happier. Like I became less anxious and like had so much dopamine
Yeah.
because I was actually seeing myself follow something through. And so that became addictive. Like that became something that I like want more of. Um, and yeah, I honestly also would say the same thing of like, if you can find a thing that feels good to do for a committed amount of time, like do that, whether it's 30 days or 100 days. I have a friend who works with paper who, um, for 100 days, almost every year, it's been a number of years, like maybe 6 or 8, I don't even know, where every day, every year for 100 days, she does a paper piece, like a paper painting. And, um, like what if there's an annual visitation of like, this is the season in which I'm going to like reflect on what's happening inside of me, or find something outside and bring it through me to the page.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there can be these courtships with practice, but finding some commitment to follow through affirms the bigger dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, that is such a good way to put it, I think. Like it really does. And it really does just it comes from making that commitment and sticking to it. Whether it's daily, weekly, whatever it is for you, just having that commitment and showing up for it. And like you said, at the end of it, it is such a great feeling. Like when I did that 366th face, like
Yeah.
it's a wild feeling. Like looking back, it's like, wow, that's a lot of paper. And
Yeah,
like I touched each one of them. I did like my whole year is chronicled in these portraits I made. Like,
totally. It's been kind of amazing because I have, again, thousands of paintings. Although
yeah,
I actually have sold about half of them, which I realized because I
nice.
had just sorted all of them into a filing cabinet. And I was like, dang, I've sold like thousands of paintings. Okay.
Okay.
Fancy. um, but it's like a living journal. Like I look back and I'm like, I
Yeah,
actually know what I was going through in that season, like the materials I'm working with, like the subject matter. I see myself, and I have an epileptic condition, and I literally like lose my mind sometimes. Like I like lose my memory sometimes. And it actually, my memory has strengthened from looking from the daily painting practice, because I know what was going on. I have like a
yeah.
touch point of like what was going on. It's totally
It's a little time capsule of that
yeah.
moment.
Yeah, and it's also amazing. Like if I ever have a day where I'm like, I'm not doing anything with my life and I don't know who I am, I'm gonna pull out a stack of paintings. I'm like, it's like I can like see, like I can
Yeah,
see that actually, no, I have done quite a bit. Like there's a self affirmation, there's a self, it's like very building.
it's proof. It's proof that, look how far you've come. Look at all you've done. It's
Yep. Proof. I love it. That actually was part of my commitment. I was like, I want to go in and then come out and make proof that I went there. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Tanner, my goodness, we're like kind of here. I put out a thing to the YouTube, the folks who are watching on YouTube, if there's any questions here. There is a comment that said, loving this conversation and got inspired to do a daily artistic thing myself,
Nice.
which is rad. But you kind of already named this a little bit, but is there a practice that you would invite anyone who's listening to consider?
Ooh. Well, I mean, I think a daily face challenge is very fun. Definitely consider that. um, I think that's so hard because there's so many ways to go. I mean, from my own experience, I think do some kind of practice. I think challenge yourself. Start with 30 days. Start with a 30-day challenge. If this is something that kind of intimidates you, I'd say commit to doing one thing for 30 days, and something that, like, a start to finish thing, that at the end of each day or however long you spend on it, you have a finished thing. Do that for 30 days. And I'll make the bold claim. I guarantee you by the end of that 30 days, you'll look back, you'll be like, that was amazing. And I've grown. I'm a better person from that. Like I'm bold enough to guarantee it that you will come out of that better.
What do they get, Tanner? What do they get for you to back your guarantee up?
You will get no, but really, you will get such a sense of accomplishment from it. You really will, and it's hard to explain unless you do it. It's like, it's just such a, as Meg has said many times, it's rad. It's a rad thing.
It really is. Rad comes from radical, right? And I actually feel like a most radical stance is to be somebody committed to what you care about and what you want more of in the world. And I want more beauty and magic. I want more creativity and more access to imagination. So I'm willing to go into the unknown of that, and then invite others to come with me. So thank you for saying yes to coming with me today. And thanks for also being a beacon of this yourself. I have this other question, even though we only have 4 minutes. I have this other question because one of the main motivations, how deep am I going to get into this? One of my main motivations for daily practice is that I became obsessed with monasticism as a young person. Like, it literally started with the sound of music. I was like, nuns, what are nuns? And I kind of liked Maria's, she was sort of cloistered, but also free. I'm like, that's me. I'm like, I want to be a monk in the world. I'm curious, do you have a sense of where the wild hair that comes that says, I want to do something every day for a year comes from you? Like, is there a source?
That's such a fun question. And you know what? I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those things that I think, is it the muse? Is it God? Is it the universe? It's just, I don't know. I think it's something that just strikes you, and you either listen to it or you don't. And I think choosing to listen to it is what is the choice you got to make. And I think most people are afraid of it, afraid of listening to those little ideas or those things they get. They shy away from it. But choosing not to, I think, it's courageous, and I think you should listen to it, do it, try it, because it's coming from somewhere where I don't know, but I think it's worth listening to.
I'm so glad I asked that question. You either listen or you don't. I feel like this is like, you touched on, we're going to go over today. Is that okay?
That's okay. That's okay.
This freedom piece, something that my friend Spencer and I talked about in his practice live earlier this year. Actually, I think it was in January, is freedom. That practice is actually a foray into, is a portal into freedom. That if we're just going through the motions of our life, like, even if they're like cool motions, they're still motions. And there's something about this impulse that comes in, this signal that comes in, whether from God, the universe, life, all that is, like, the signal is coming. And are you going to be courageous enough to say yes? And it's that, like, it's not, if what we're talking about isn't about the product, but not emphasis on the product, but more emphasis on this process of hearing the signal, saying yes to the signal, letting the signal move through, letting the signal come out however it's going to come out, whether you're somebody who does movement or music or visual arts or conversation or homemaking. Like, again, expanding the definition of creativity and letting the signal move through is an act of courage, an act of courage to like let your life actually be led by that instead of the
Yeah, like,
going
what I gotta do, I gotta do this.
Yeah. I know, like there's a stance of going with the flow, and I am participating in the flow. Like I'm not controlling the flow. But I'm also not just a passive like recipient of it. Like I'm going to participate through receiving that signal and letting it move me, letting it change me, letting it move me towards a bigger destiny. Like, yes. And if my path to that is taking a small step every day, am I willing to do that? Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Just take that first step.
Yep.
It's not as scary as it seems.
It's
and it
so
gets easier the more steps you take.
So true. Well, Tanner and I have successfully cheerleaded all of you for the last hour. By sharing stories of our experience. And it's not like this path is without trial. There's always sniggly little voices that come in that say, not good enough, not cool enough, not enough. And daily practice is so a way of meeting that and saying, I hear you. And also, like, there's a more generous reality if we just keep taking these small steps. Tanner, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything that you want to share with us that we might amplify on this podcast for anyone who's watching? Like, are you doing anything that you want people to know about?
Yeah, well, I'm planning on doing a lot more. I want to post more on Instagram. Maybe I'll dabble in some long form YouTube content. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah, I think I will. But I'm going to be pushing myself. I'm going to see what crazier art challenges and whatnot I can give myself. And so I'm excited. I'm going wild.
Yes. Rad. Everyone listening, keep a lookout for Tanner's Going Wild.
Yeah, Tanner Gone Wild.
Tanner Gone Wild. Tanner, is your Instagram at Tanner Polsley?
Tanner Polsley, yeah.
Cool. I encourage you all to follow him and stay in tune with the works that are in progress. And a couple of announcements here before we close. This podcast happens usually on the third Friday of the month, usually at 11, but this month has a little bit of an exception. Next month's guest is JK Ultra. We're going to get totally weird. We're going to get into some conspiracy realms and beyond. So I hope that you all can make it next month, which is on the 15th. And I believe that actually really will be at 11 a.m. Pacific. Also, if you're curious about having some support in sustaining a daily practice, I have written a book called Don't Just Do Something, Be Here. And it's about creating and sustaining a daily practice from an arts monastic perspective. So there's like some simple guideposts that you can touch base with yourself to create a practice that means something to you. And yeah. And that's available on Amazon because I live off grid and shipping everything myself is not a thing that we're going to do all the time. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Tanner, so kindly from Florida. You're in Florida, yeah?
Yeah.
Rad. Wow. We're like on the opposite sides of the country.
I know we can't be further apart.
Yep. It's 1:00 where you are.
Yes.
I'm so grateful that you said yes and for the depth and the joy of hearing your stories. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Rad. Another friend said, this has been so helpful. I can't wait to rewatch it and take notes. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you all who are watching. We're going to come to a close.